Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Non Sequitur Nerds. As always, I'm going to be Tim, and over here's my buddy Ian. How's it going, bud?
Doing good. Uh, Stupid motions. It's a gag, folks. No, we're doing really good. It's we're hedging up onto a holiday weekend. It won't be a holiday for when folks listen to this, but
Hope
that's
you
where
enjoyed
things
it.
are at. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was nice. Weather here's been nice and cool, actually. Better than
Yeah,
the sweltering swamp ass temperatures that we were having before. And you work in a factory, so it's even
dude.
more miserable for you.
Like we even had like all like the big bay doors open, and it was still just swamp balls. I mean, just
If they were
swamp
Michael
balls.
Bay doors, they would
Everywhere.
have exploded.
That might have actually made the airflow a little better. I mean,
Might have. Might have. Anyway,
yeah,
so
it's cooler but pleasant.
yes, yes, it's comfortable.
Yes, it's a nice, comfortable temperature. That's the best way to describe it.
Yep. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't mind walking around in shorts and flip flops and whatnot in the summertime. Like, I don't have any issue with it. But I'm a pasty ginger, and being in sunlight too much, I turn into bacon.
I mean,
Not.
it kind of kills your people if you're out in sunlight too long.
Yes.
I don't mean
Yes. We're.
gingers in specific. I meant pasty people, just for the record.
Yeah.
Our people, our
Yes.
people. There we go.
My people. Anyway.
fellow
So.
fellow basement dwellers.
Exactly. The light it burns.
It does. It does. I can attest to this.
Yep. Yep.
Why do I have blackout curtains in my basement? All right, just saying.
Maybe that is also why you're pasty.
I mean, it might be. It might be. But anyway, so yeah, everybody's joining us tonight. We are going to be talking about Adult Swim and some of the shows that they've had on there. I know you and I, Ian, are both fans of the large majority of stuff they've put on there.
Right. There's a few caveats,
Mm-hmm.
which we will probably get into.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of axes to grind with some of the content creators.
Right.
But yeah, no, Adult Swim. Been fantastic programming for adults, old adults, young adults, older teenagers, and
Yep.
probably those kids that are staying up too late and shouldn't be watching Adult Swim.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Uh,
shows they shouldn't be watching on there.
Well, I mean, it can't be any worse than like Comedy Central's like Midnight Block, where they air like uncensored TV show, like uncensored adult cartoons,
Right.
like the Harley Quinn cartoon, like DC's Harley Quinn. They aired uncensored, and
Comedy Central did.
yeah, they aired on. It was after midnight because there's, at least if I remember correctly, there are FCC laws that basically says like after, for a reasonable amount of time after like midnight,
Mm-hmm.
when children are supposed, like when people, impressionable young people are supposed to be in bed, you are able to air, uncensored content.
Well, I did.
Uncensored in so much like the language, like
Right.
they're not just gonna show like big busty, like
That's on
bare-breasted
Skinamax.
women. Correct. They're
Like,
not
well,
going to show like bare-breasted women there, but they
right.
will, you can drop the F-bomb and you can say, asshole, because that's a censored word
Right.
for
Well, like
some
I
reason.
knew that much as far as the broadcasting. I didn't realize that Harley Quinn had gotten on any network. I thought that was a streaming exclusive, as more than anything, which is a really good show. Not an Adult Swim show though.
No, 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 no. And we kind of digress. So, but anyway,
Good
yeah,
show.
Adult Swim. So take her away, Johnny.
Right. I mean, Adult Swim. I mean, in its long tenure now, has brought us such great things as Metalocalypse, Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, Space Ghost Coast to Coast. I mean, those are for
C Lab
me.
2021.
Oh gosh, C Lab. I forgot about like those right
The
there.
Brack Show.
Okay, those are probably my top five, and you could like I think what I'm getting at is, and we kind of talked about this at the top of the show. Adult Swim is as they've turned out a lot of really good shows, a lot of which have like sadly gotten canceled way too soon, in my opinion. Like I think a
Right.
lot of those shows were going strong enough that they could have kept going for a while. But I mean,
Yeah.
they also like to keep churning out stuff that's hot now, so they can have it. They can keep that. It's. I had talked to somebody earlier today. You and I a few episodes ago talked about Disney Channel cartoon shows,
Hmm.
And you brought up the fact that most of their shows only had 2 to 4 seasons. And I
Yep.
brought that up to somebody today, and they said, well, you know why? Even though those properties are hot, Disney doesn't want to keep producing those things to where they get not good. They want to
Yep.
just end it on a high note while it's still super popular and bring in something new and fresh that's going to be popular off the bat. And I think, in my opinion anyway, Adult Swim kind of did that with a lot of their shows as well. Now, there were some that ran
I
way too long.
Well, I think they did and they didn't. Like they were kind of selective. So,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
if we kind of go back and look at the history of it, which I had pulled up, showing our age, folks. Adult Swim started September 2nd of 2001. So Adult Swim will be
Wow.
turning 20 years old today.
Oh,
Or not today,
not
this
today,
year.
this year. And you know they're going to do some kind of celebration for that. 20 years is a milestone.
Probably. I mean, it is a milestone. So, uh, you know, it started 20 years ago, and they
Wow.
had just like some of the most eclectic and weird ass shows that you ever saw
Yeah.
when they first aired. And you're sitting there going, "Am I high?"
Well, because like Adult
While you're
Swim,
watching this, and then you're like, "This is actually kind of funny."
right? Well, and then like in we'll call it their teenage years, they started putting a lot of shows, in my opinion, where no disrespect to anybody that partakes, but I feel like a lot of the shows in their teenage years, you had to be high to enjoy.
That was pretty much anything that was produced by Tim and Eric.
Like
Uh,
that, like I watched a few episodes of all of their random shows and just I was, again, my catchphrase here, I was not the target audience. I don't know who was, but it was certainly not me. I did not. I couldn't get into any of the Tim and Eric shows. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I
no,
imagine that
like
they're
Tom Goes to the Mayor, Tim
yeah,
and Eric Awesome Show, like all of like their brand of humor was not for me at all. Like
like
I
Tom Goes to the
did,
Mayor. Like, if that was on and I was waiting for whatever was afterwards, that's one that I would sit through, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it.
you would sit through it while you're playing your Game Boy, waiting for the next thing to happen.
Probably. But like
I mean, yeah,
I wouldn't actively turn it off, but I wouldn't actively tune in for that. And now any of their other shows, I would actively switch channels or go do something else.
right, yeah. So I mean, but Adult Swim really started like they only had a few original programs. Like they had, well, let's say they home movies.
Which was good.
Uh, right, home movies, which it was great. I mean,
Yeah.
that's Brendan Small, who also went on to create Metalocalypse, one
Yep.
of the best shows that
Yes.
ever came out of Adult Swim, in my
Yes, it
opinion.
was.
You
Underrated.
know, right? They had Aqua Teen, and people kind of forget this, but they also started off by airing anime.
Yeah,
Like
the
they aired
uncensored
Cowboy
anime.
Bebop.
Well,
They aired Bebop.
well, they did do some uncensored, but it was mainly the anime for the older kids.
Right, because they aired things like Bebop and
Yep.
Outlaw Star, and I think they even had like maybe some Sailor
I,
Moon.
they had Trigun on there too at one point, didn't they?
Yes,
Or
yes,
was that part of
they did have
Toonami?
Trigun. No, I think they did have
Okay.
Trigun originally because Toonami was originally the after school block
Hmm.
for shows like Dragon Ball Z and then
Right. Yeah.
Sailor Moon and then like some of the other more younger aged
Right.
friendly animes. But I mean, there was also. But going back to Adult Swim, like if you look at their programming block, a lot of the shows that they originally came out with were built off of the Hanna-Barbera properties like Space Ghost
Yep.
and Harvey Birdman, and all of the C Lab 2021,
Yep.
which was it was a continuation spoof of C Lab 2020, which was a serious
Yep.
Hanna Barbera show. But I mean, these were all shows that were based off those Hanna Barbera properties, and so they were just kind of like having fun with it. Really,
Well,
it
I
was,
mean, and a lot of the those three shows in particular, a lot of it was reused animation. Like I think Harvey Birdman had a lot more original animation, and like you can tell what scenes are like original stuff because the quality is quite a bit different. But like Space Ghost Coast to Coast, that was almost entirely original animation. Um, see,
I mean, it's all done in like Flash. Like they just
Right.
did it. Like they just they just tweaked it in Flash and
Yep.
then put it up there because it was cheap and it was quick and easy. It was easy to do.
Well, for the most part,
Um,
like in Space Ghost, because it was a talk show hosted by Space Ghost for people that aren't familiar with the show. So for the most part, Space Ghost was just standing or sitting there talking to whoever his guest was, and like we don't mean like he had other Hanna Barbera cartoon characters on. I think they did a couple, but they had actual like real people on there, like actual
mhm.
celebrities would come on, and it was part of that. All right, we're gonna hit up Tonight Show, we're gonna hit up the Late Show, we're gonna hit up Space Ghost Coast to Coast. It was a legitimate talk show, but for the most part, Space Ghost is either standing there or sitting down, so there really wasn't a whole lot of animation that had to be done.
Right, like he would fly in like
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the episode, but I mean they just reused Space Ghost flying animations. They had
Right?
then they had his nemesis as his unwilling crew.
Like,
Zorak was like the musician, and he
yep.
like his entire purpose was to sit there and make fun of Space Ghost and tell him how much he hated him. And I think it wound up being a running gag where like Space Ghost would kill him like every other episode. Like he would
Right. Yeah.
shoot him with the arm lasers and like it would blow up. And then they had Brack on there who went from being a supervillain to being like the special kid in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then you had Moltar, who was like the
Like the control booth guy.
he was like he was like the control booth guy and whatnot. So,
Man, yeah,
but
that's another, like I said, that was one of my favorite shows in there. Just because like I liked the Space Ghost cartoon, like I caught reruns of it growing up, and I always really I thought it was a cool character. But then to see them turn him and all of his various characters into spoofs of themselves, like
right,
Space Ghost was probably the one that was the most serious, and even he was a spoof. But like actually getting to see like these celebrities interacting with him, it was really kind of very Roger Rabbit esque in its sense. It was tunes interacting with real people. So I mean that was cool. But I mean that show did give us a spin off of the Brack show,
right,
where it was, if I remember correctly, canonically it was the same Brack and Zorak. Just what are they doing
yeah,
when they're not there in the studio? So like
yeah.
you
It
got to
like
see
followed
Brack's
it
like
like
day-to-day
followed
life.
Brack and his family, and then
Yep.
like Zorak was like the unwilling sidekick that would get drug along for the misadventures, and
Yep.
you know it was the Brack show.
Yep.
Yay!
Yeah, that's a pretty good Brack actually.
So,
But I mean, it
um,
was again, it was such just a like I would have loved to have been in the pitch meeting for that because like I imagine Space Ghost Coast to Coast was a hard enough sell, but for them to sit down and go, okay, so we have a spin-off idea where we want to see what these other non-main characters are doing when they're not here. I would have
right.
loved to have been in that pitch meeting just to hear how they managed to sell that.
I mean, the onset of Adult Swim really happened because they had access to these properties.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to provide more adult programming,
Right?
and it was cheap to do. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
really like you basically pay for some jackass to come in with Flash experience,
Right.
and then you pay for these relatively no-name voice actors. Like the guy that does Space Ghost, I actually don't remember his name, but like he's in a ton of stuff, but
Right.
nobody knew who he was. I mean, the Master Shake, Dana Snyder,
Yeah.
like nobody freaking knew who he was before.
And now
But he's got
now he's everywhere and does that same voice.
right. I mean, he doesn't do anything that like he doesn't do voices. He just does Dana Snyder because
I
he
was
has
gonna
such
say
a unique
that's
voice.
that's not a character. That's just how he sounds. Well, it's
Yes.
like oh god, the name is Brock Sampson. The name's escaping me.
Oh, Patrick Warburton.
Yeah, that's just how he sounds.
Yeah, he really like he doesn't
he
have
puts a little
to
more
do.
gravitas behind it, but that's pretty much how he sounds.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like they're like Brock, he's more brooding. Like
Yep.
he's a more brooding character. When he plays Joe Swanson on Family Guy, he's a much more boisterous
Yeah.
character.
Yep.
But I
It's
mean,
Brock Sampson.
right. And then when he plays Krunk in Emperor's New Groove, he's just
He's kind of in the middle between those two.
yeah, he's in the middle. Like he's the lovable, like affable.
He's happy.
He's
Brock Sampson.
Krunk.
He's happy. Brock
Right,
Sampson.
exactly. Right.
It's 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon has turned into 3 degrees of Brock Sampson.
Exactly. Yeah. So like they had access to these properties. They were cheap. They could produce them quickly and easily. I mean, I feel like it probably wouldn't be that hard of a pitch because the network was started by Mike Lazo, who was already Cartoon Network's head of programming,
Right.
and so he basically was like, "Hey guys, I want to do this. Can I?"
Right.
And then kind of went from there.
The answer was
But then
yes.
right. So then you have Adult Swim continuing on, and they bring in things like Aqua Teen,
Right.
and you're just like, what?
Dude, okay, so like Aqua
What
Teen,
is
like
this?
I remember seeing like previews of that, and I'm going, this is the dumbest thing ever. It's a freaking talking, meatball, his French fry friend, and a milkshake. This is stupid. Hooked after the first
I don't know
episode.
what you're talking about. You're stupid.
Hooked after the first episode.
No, yeah, absolutely. And then Carl.
I still maintain
you can't forget Carl.
them getting rid of Dr. Weird is probably the worst choice for that show. Just saying. Gentlemen, behold! Corn!
Gentlemen, who stole my herarium? Your what?
It's
my
right
hair helmet!
It's right there on your head.
Bullshit!
I mean, he was like that. I for the longest time, when Aqua Teen was getting, when it was new episodes were first coming out, when it first came out, I remember this was when I was in college. I had my computer set up like, instead of like the default Windows ding boop bleh, I had it all set up for various Aqua Teen, specifically Dr. Weird noises. Whenever I would get an error message, my computer would go bullshit. from that clip we were just talking about.
Right.
So I did that because like something was goofed up on my computer at the time, and I kept getting an error message like at least 3 times a day, and I still to this day had no idea what it was. So I'd just be sitting there like in the room, not even at my computer, and you just hear bullshit. It amused our friend Kevin for like the first 5 minutes, and then he said I had to change it because he was my roommate.
Right. But I mean, once they finally started to get like a base, they started bringing in more stuff. So but they also aired some other shows that I don't know if you remember them, but I kind of got a list in front of me. But do you remember Mission Hill?
The name rings a bell.
It was like a really weird animated. Obviously, most of Adult Swim stuff was animated. It was like a really weirdly animated show. It only ran for 1 season, but it was so incredibly like well written. Like it starred like Brian Posehn.
Okay.
I can't remember who else was in it, but it basically followed like the lives of these roommates living in Mission Hill.
Okay.
Like in this area called Mission Hill, and they were just like following their lives, and they were just. It was like the animated version of Seinfeld, kind of. But it was actually something that I enjoyed because I hated Seinfeld.
Right. See, like I remember the name, but like I can't even remember what it looks like.
Yeah. Do you remember? The Oblongs?
Yeah. Yep.
That was
a weird
starred
show,
Will
but it was
Ferrell.
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
it starred Will
did.
Ferrell.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell was
Forgot about that.
the head of the Oblong household.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another weird show that it only ran for 1 season, but it was so weird and funny.
Yeah.
Like it was just entertaining. And then, then they had other shows on there like Futurama. Like Futurama was and you can almost credit Adult Swim with resurrecting Futurama because it became so popular.
I remember.
And the same thing with Family Guy. They aired reruns of Family Guy, and they were so popular that the networks were like, I like money.
Right.
Like I want to keep doing this. Yeah. So
well, like, but both of those shows in particular, I remember that after they got that renewal because of Adult Swim, there were both Futurama got canceled like 10 times. But I remember the first time both those got renewed, like the first new episode, they made a joke about like Family Guy flat out said, "Hey, we've been renewed."
Right.
And I think it had something to do with because like Fox brought them back, and they made some joke about Fox canceling really good shows, and then there was just a list of like every good show that Fox has canceled that they should not have canceled.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was a list of every show that Fox had canceled since Family Guy had been canceled.
That's what. Yeah, okay, you remember that?
It was
episode.
like, no, I remember. It was like
Greg,
literally
Greg the
it
Bunny,
was
Firefly. I mean, like they listed a bunch of shows that were all
It was
really
literally
good.
every show. It was
Yep.
literally every show that Fox had
Yep.
canceled since the time that Family Guy had been canceled, and then since when they came back.
And then Futurama did
And
a similar thing where like Professor Farnsworth comes out, good news, everyone, we're back on the air. And they're like, wait, you mean we can fly again? Yes, we've got our permit. Like making an in joke
exactly.
that they're back, but making it an in-universe joke because that show wasn't as meta as Family Guy.
Even though that like Family Guy was Family Guy.
Family Fi.
I don't even know that Family Guy was really all that meta. Like they're just the whole shtick is just breaking the fourth wall and
Well, yeah.
making fun of Meg.
Pretty much. I mean, that's kind of what it is.
Which I saw an interview with Mia Kunis several years ago.
Yeah.
She was on the Graham Norton show. And they were asking, Graham was asking her like, so, do people ever, you play Meg, like, do people ever like give you crap for that? And she's like, oh, all the time. Like people just walk past me on the street and they'll just be like, shut up, Meg. Like they don't even make eye contact with me. They just walk past me and just yell, shut up, Meg, as soon as they walk by. And she's just like, she's so used to it. But and Mia Kunis is such a sweetheart. And she actually speaks. She's Russian. Like she's actually from, I think Ukraine actually, but it was Soviet Russia back then. But she speaks fluent Russian. So anytime Meg is speaking Russian in the show, it's actually Mia Kunis speaking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's actually Mia Kunis. Like she speaks perfectly fluent Russian.
Well, cool. I learned something today. See, our show can be educational.
Rarely.
I mean,
we should probably put a disclaimer.
Not an educational show.
Right. It's like Buzz Lightyear, not a flying toy.
When we get money to get an actual editor, we'll have them edit that in because I can't be bothered to put in text on screen right now because it's all the way over there. I mean,
Yeah, it's hard to do, but
yeah.
Then we're kind of talking like progression of some of their original content and things like that. Do you remember Moral Oral?
Yes, I do. That was a bizarre show for its time, but compared to some of the stuff they put out since then, it's pretty tame.
It like the first season is kind of fun and like following Oral and like his adventures in state soda, like mired in Christianity and all this, and like obviously the creator Dino Stamatopoulos does not care for organized religion.
Yeah,
that is very evident. But like after season 1, it gets freaking dark.
Yeah, it does.
Like it is dark.
Yeah.
Like Oral gets shot.
Yeah.
Doesn't die, but he gets shot. And then they spend the entire season going through and like reverse engineering how that happened. Like the last episode of the season is like actually explains how he got shot.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it deals with infidelity, divorce, like broken families, like poor parenting, psychological trauma.
Yeah.
And what's really sad is
some
like
pretty deep stuff.
Yeah, and what was really interesting to me though about that show is by the end of it, I found that the most relatable person in that show was Reverend Putty, like the local reverend.
Yeah.
Because he probably goes through the most character growth in that show because like he starts off as kind of a dick and like he's a bit of a horn dog, but he can't get a girlfriend or anything and whatnot, and then he finds out that he has a daughter, but like he provides the most like actual moral advice to Oral throughout the series.
Yeah, he really does. Yeah.
He winds up being, he connects with his daughter and puts forth an effort to like actually like be part of her life and whatnot. Like, they form a bond and like he fully recognizes how shitty most of his parishioners are and stuff like, and it's just like he winds up being the actual like moral compass of the town. Just nobody takes him seriously. Like every single member of this Christian community is just awful,
morally
like
bankrupt.
they are just terrible people. But anyway, so maybe moving on to something a little bit less
depressing.
depressing. Go Team Venture.
That show ran for a long time. Venture
It
Brothers.
actually it did, but it didn't because it's only got 7 seasons.
Really?
There's
So
been
many
such
gaps
big
in it.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
been such big gaps between seasons though that we like you don't realize how like how many gaps are like
Yeah.
how big of
Wow.
a gap there was. But for those of you who don't know Adventure Time,
Adventure
different
Time.
show.
Different show.
What the Venture Brothers are is it's basically a spoof of Johnny Quest.
Yeah.
Like old school Johnny again Hanna-Barbera.
Yep.
It's a spoof of Johnny Quest. Like it follows Dr. Venture, who's not actually a doctor and is a total asshole.
Yes, he is.
And then his 2 sons, and then their bodyguard Brock.
Yep. Who we talked a little
And
bit about earlier.
right, and then their live-in neighbor Dr. Orpheus and his daughter.
Who is the greatest character ever and should have gotten his own spin-off. Just saying.
Should have. Dr. Orpheus
Dr.
is amazing.
Orpheus!
Yes.
Like like Ian said, it's kind of a Johnny Quest spoof. Effectively, Dr. Venture grew up living the life of Johnny Quest. Like his dad was this world-renowned scientist, explorer, debonair, blah blah blah, and he's kind of growing up. Everybody expects him to be his dad, but he's clearly not. He has way too many personal, emotional, mental, addiction, whatever kind of issue. Literally pick an issue and he has it to
Right.
bother being that great. He's pretty much riding on the coattails of his dad, which is like one of the
Yeah.
big things of the show that he keeps maintaining. Oh, I'm not riding on dad's coattails. But he is. He is.
Right. And most of his inventions are either like don't work or cause major problems or are
Of
have
questionable
the heart
moral standards.
have the heart of an orphan inside of it.
I was just going to bring the soul of a forsaken orphan, Ian.
Yes, sorry.
Specifically.
Yes, the soul of the forsaken orphan.
Oh god, that was such a good episode, though.
It really was. And like there's, and Brock is supposed to be the brooding bodyguard that just like he just spends the entire show murdering people.
Yes.
The
he
episode
does.
where he loses his license to kill is one of the greatest episodes.
Yeah.
Like, but then of course there's his villain, the Monarch.
Yep.
His arch nemesis, the Monarch.
Honestly, Monarch deserved a spinoff too.
He did. He was a fantastic character, and
yes.
he winds up developing into one of the more relatable characters like in the show, and
right.
Like at first he's just goofy, weird, stupid, and then of course
a
there's
villain
Dr.
whose whole
Girlfriend.
motif is a butterfly.
Right, and then of course there's Dr. Girlfriend, who is, you're not sure if you're gay or not because you have you're like, holy shit, she's smoking hot, but she talks in a deep bass voice.
A deep bass that smokes like 10 packs a day voice. Like,
right.
Who is her voice actor?
I think it's Doc Hammer. It's one of the creators, I think.
Right.
It's either Doc Hammer or Jackson Public.
There, okay.
Because one of them does Dr. Girlfriend, I'm pretty sure, and the other one does Monarch.
I would have loved to have been in that recording studio.
Oh yeah, no, like it's just so eclectic and weird and
but completely enjoyable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Like it was such a fun show. Like, and it's still a fun show. Like
Yeah.
I think they're finalizing. They're wrapping up. Like they're not going to be making them anymore,
Yep.
which is unfortunate. But,
Yeah.
But we'll get into a little bit more. We'll get into a little bit more on that a little later.
Yep.
So yeah, there was Venture Brothers, and then we mentioned this one already, Metalocalypse.
Yeah.
Which it's from the creator Brendan Small, who did Home Movies, and I know we didn't talk about Home Movies a whole lot. Was Home Movies is kind of one of those shows, like it's a weird show, but it's fun.
Right. Yeah.
Like
I mean, effectively,
I didn't get.
It follows this kid who's one of his big hobbies is making movies, making home movies, hence the title, and it's just kind of like following his life, like, you know, his friends at school, dealing with his gym teacher, Coach McGurk, you know, his parent, you know, it's just, but the whole kind of backdrop of it is he likes making movies.
Yep. It's him and his two best friends
Yep.
making movies, and Coach McGurk is voiced by crap, I can't remember his name.
That's not
Does
H. John Benjamin.
does
No.
yes
Yeah,
H. John
yeah.
John H. John Benjamin
Yep.
H. John Benjamin who famously does you know, Bob from Bob's Burgers, Archer from the Archer TV
They're the
series.
same person.
I mean, that's really all. I mean that.
Well, if you saw that one episode of Archer, like he loses his memory or whatever and thinks he's a guy
Yes.
named Bob who runs a burger shop. The fact that they got all the voice actors from Bob's Burgers to reprise their roles for that episode was pretty cool.
I mean, it's not really much of a stretch because I mean, Bob's Burgers was airing on Fox, Archer was airing on FX. Like they're both owned by the same network. They basically just like, hey, we need to borrow 5 minutes of your time. Will you record these lines?
Pretty much. Bobby.
You're right. Right. Which that voice actor is a male, actually. So.
Yep.
But yeah. So Metalocalypse is one of those shows that was just so over the top.
Yes. I mean, yeah. Like, you know, they say with metal music, crank it up to 11. Well, this show took that and ran it with everything they did.
Right. It's basically this is Spinal Tap with more murder.
I mean, yeah. Like, the whole show, Metalocalypse, is following this death metal band called Death Clock. And, like, it's not just following them while they're on tour. It's following them while they're doing whatever it is they're doing. Like you said, Spinal Tap turned with more murder. But it was such... I mean, this is kind of true with a lot of Adult Swim shows. It was such a weird concept, but it worked really good. And, like, they did original music for it. Like, you can actually buy Death Clock albums.
I have them.
I was gonna say, so do I. They're all really good. Like, if you listen to just the music of it, musically very good. If you listen to the lyrics, like the fact that they have one song that's about how they don't want to pay their taxes because they think it's dumb. Death Harmonic, good song. Check it out. I was actually listening to that earlier today. But like, that's what the song's about: is they don't want to pay their taxes because they think it's dumb.
Yeah, exact,ly.
And these are the kind of things that they did in the show.
Right, and you know, these are basically five idiots.
I gotta go through the opening song.
There's, you know, Nathan Explosion.
Yep.
William Murderface, Toki, Pickles the drummer, and Squig Elf.
Yep. So 5. Yeah. Well, and
so 5.
No, 5. Yeah.
Yeah, there's 5.
Yep.
And then, you know, there's then, you know, they have their other characters, you know, so like their manager is freaking awesome. Like just the most, like it's like if you took like Stephen Colbert and made him if you took unassuming Stephen Colbert, not like the Colbert Show Colbert, like took normal Stephen Colbert and made him the manager of the highest grossing musical band of all time.
Right.
And then there was, you know, Dr. Roxo, the rock and roll clown. I'm Dr. Roxo! Yeah.
Well, wasn't it Murderface was like horribly afraid of clowns?
Yes.
And then Dr. Roxo is just very much, he's always literally in your face.
I do cocaine.
Because there's one scene where like Murderface he's sleeping on a couch or something, and Dr. Roxo's just like rubbing up on him, and Murderface wakes up, and Dr. Roxo is literally right next to his face with his hand down his pants, and yeah, like he just whispers, "I do cocaine," and of course that would be terrifying even if you're not afraid of clowns, to wake up and there's a clown in, you know, like a swimsuit one-piece thing that Borat would wear, whispering whatever into your ear. I don't care if you're afraid of clowns or not. You will scream.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, we were talking about, like, the music was amazing. Like, it's metal, like, true metal music. Yeah. It's composed by Brendan Small. Like, Brendan Small performs, like, he plays in it. A
lot of the songs, he literally recorded every instrumental part of it.
Except for drums.
Yeah.
Drums is Van Halen's kid.
Really?
Yes. Van
Huh.
Halen, Eddie Van Halen does the drums. I think he's
No, Eddie was Van.
no, no.
Is he
Yeah, sorry.
Junior?
I'd have to look it up. Um,
This isn't a music podcast. We get a free pass on that one.
right, exactly. No, yeah, he plays the drums for them.
Huh. That's pretty cool, actually.
Um, yeah. Well, also little known fact for you guys, Tim and I are also big fans of Tenacious D.
Yes.
And uh, crap, what the hell's his name again?
Jack Black?
Foo Fighters.
Oh, Dave Grohl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave Grohl does the drums for Tenacious D.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Well, like Dave Grohl, this is immediately after I say this isn't a music podcast. Dave Grohl does everything. That man is so incredibly talented.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody seems to know him too. Like, not just like, oh yeah, I'm a fan of Dave Grohl. Like, there's so many people in the entertainment business that are like, oh yeah, I'm friends with Dave Grohl. We hung out last weekend. Everybody knows this guy. He's super talented, super awesome. Anyway, but yeah. How did we go from? How did we get on the Tenacious D thing there?
Transition drummers, things like that.
Oh,
I don't
okay,
know. Non sequiturs, as is evidenced by the name of our podcast.
Oh, also,
anyway.
you a bowl.
Yes,
we had to throw it in there. I think we've been slacking the last couple episodes.
Right. Ding. We will eventually get around to the UA Bowl special.
We're working on something for that.
Yeah, we're working on something for that.
Dude,
anyway,
what do you want to bet we could probably like $50 come be on our podcast and he'd say yes, it's money.
Probably. Well, assuming that he can get a tax write-off for it.
Well, if we do it as a charity broadcast, he could write it off as that.
True. Yeah.
I don't think there's any charities that want us associated with them.
Probably not. Anyway, so moving on. So one show that we haven't actually talked about, though,
all right,
that has been an integral member of Adult Swim, not quite since its inception, but it has been around for years.
Mm-hmm.
Robot Chicken.
Robot Chicken, yes. That has been for years now, kind of a staple of Adult Swim.
I mean, it really has. Like, I think production has slowed down a little bit on, and pandemic has also caused some slowdowns on things like that. But
especially when it's stop motion animated, you kind of have to have people on site for that,
Right. But Adult Swim, like. Not Adult Swim, but Robot Chicken, for those of you that don't know, if you don't know, then I'm going to call you a Luddite who's been living underneath a rock for the last
I think everybody knows Robot Chicken at this point, but
Robot Chicken was created and produced by Seth Green and Matthew Senreich. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows Seth Green from all of his various movie appearances. Matthew Senreich is more niche. You really don't know him outside of Robot Chicken. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. But it's stop motion animated, it's a sketch show. Like, it's a stop motion sketch show with
toys.
They're right. They're either using clay figures or they're using like 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s toy action figures, because Seth Green has probably one of the biggest collections of toys that has ever existed. In which I'm going to have another non sequitur and basically say that, like, if you've ever seen Seth Green's wife, there is hope for every nerd out there, because
his wife. I mean, she's
Grant,
a very attractive woman. Very attractive woman.
Claire Grant, and she is also a giant nerd, just like her husband.
There's
like, she does D&D, she does video games.
Yep.
She does voice acting. Like, she's a model. Like, she's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so adult Robot Chicken has been around for years. I mean, I think they're up to season 11.
I mean, they're up there. They're up there in seasons.
Right, and it's stop motion animation, so it takes a while to produce. So they don't always get a season out of. They don't always get a season every year, but especially with the pandemic and everything like that. But it's just like, I still try to catch, Robot Chicken when I can, because it's just so damn funny.
Yep.
And it and it's not necessarily even topical. Like some of it is just like original sketches, like anything with Bitch Puddin',
Right?
who is voiced by Katie Sackhoff.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Oh, I did not know that. Huh.
Yeah, Katie Sackhoff does the voice of Bitch Puddin', and it's one of her more favorite roles to play because she just goes off the rails.
Right. I didn't
Um,
know that. That's pretty cool. But
yeah,
like
so
Ian said, it's also it's a lot of sketch humor. But like if let's say they're using, we'll say Transformers action figures as an example, they will do something that pokes fun. Like if you look at Transformers from a logical standpoint, there's a lot of things, especially in the G1 cartoon, that just did not make sense logically. They'll poke fun at that. But it's done in a way that people that are fans of it are like, yeah, okay, yeah, if you think about it, that is pretty funny actually. You know, it's very like the writing's good in it, and it's cool to see the ways in which they use some of these action figures to do these sketches. It's like stop motion animation has always been something that's fascinated me. Well, I mean, you remember in high school, our buddy Kevin and I had to do a history report,
yep.
and we did a stop motion. I don't want to use the word parody because that's horrible when you're talking about a world war, but we did a stop motion video on
Reenactment.
reenactment. There we go, of World War One. But we used like just whatever random action figures I had laying around in my room at the time. Um, but so I
Yep.
mean, stop motion has always been something that like just the time that goes into it and like the dedication to how much work goes into it. Stop motion has always fascinated me. I will watch a stop motion film. Like if you gave me a movie and said, okay, we have one that's done in CG in whatever style you want, or we have it done in stop motion, I'll watch the stop motion one just because I really appreciate the art that goes into those.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like the major, I can't remember the name of the studio. It starts with an L. But they're basically the ones that did Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline,
Yep.
Corpse Bride, Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yep.
The newest one that was about a Yeti or a Sasquatch. I can't remember what the
Um,
name of it was. Um,
was that stop
but
motion? Okay, maybe I'm thinking of
yeah,
a
it
different
was
one
on.
because the like.
No,
Go ahead.
yeah, I can't remember what. Oh,
Because the only like recent animated type thing I can think of about a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot or whatever was CG. I thought. I mean, there might have been another one.
no. Yeah, no, there was another one. And I can't remember what. I mean, it takes like people don't realize how long it takes
Yeah.
to make a stop motion movie. Like, it takes a month for like 30 seconds
Yeah.
of like stop motion. Like, I think it took 5 years to make Nightmare Before
I
Christmas.
mean, probably because I mean, literally, you have to effectively take a picture of each frame of movement. One picture. So you take a picture, move everything in your scene one frame worth of animation. Take a second picture, and move everything one frame worth of animation. Take a third picture, and then do that. Several million times over for a full feature length movie. It takes a lot of
Right.
work, but like there's a I don't even want to say a sense of realism because like a lot of the claymation movies like Nightmare Before Christmas, obviously it's not a realistic looking movie. Very obviously it's a Tim Burton film, um,
Well,
but
yeah.
there's that even though the characters don't look realistic, there is still a sense of realism to it. And I think like Robot Chicken, I think that's why it interests me so much because I feel like they purposely went the opposite direction of it to make it look not like you could tell that it specifically was done to not be realistic.
Yeah, and I've looked it up. It's a Leica Studios.
Okay.
They're the tour de force
Mhm.
of stop motion.
Right.
Again, their list of credits, uh, Coraline, Paranorman, Box Trolls,
Oh,
Kubo and the Two
Paranorman.
Strings.
I forgot about
Yes.
that one.
Missing Link was the one that I was thinking of. Missing Link is
Yeah. I don't think I've seen that one.
the yeah the show that I couldn't think of. But anyway, so I mean they have a very small amount of credits, but anyway, we're kind of digressing. But
Right.
um, stop motion, but Robot Chicken Studio, which is Stupid Buddy Studios, I think.
Stupid Buddy, Stupid
They're
Monkey. Something I don't remember off the top of my head.
yeah. And they're like they have branched out and they do other stuff now, like not just Robot Chicken.
Right.
Like they do, um, yeah, they do. Yeah, it's Stupid Buddy Studios.
Yeah.
Um, they do a show on Hulu. It's Crossing Swords.
Oh, okay.
It's stop motion. It's very adult and very hilarious. Um, Crossing Swords. They do Robot Chicken. Do you remember the show Super Mansion?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, the superhero, like the superhero spin-off show. They did that one.
Weren't you and I
Um,
like talking about that like off the air earlier this or like sometime recently? We couldn't remember the name of it.
yeah, I
'Cause
think
that's
so.
what Bryan Cranston, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Bryan
Okay. Yeah,
Cranston.
we were talking about it. We could neither one of us could remember the name of it.
Yeah,
Supermansion.
yeah, they do that. There's a show on uh, Netflix, The Chef Show, which is Jean Favreau and he basically is going around like he did the movie Chef,
Right.
and he actually trained like with a like an actual chef,
Huh.
and like he and that chef go around to like different restaurants and like try to cook like make the food there,
Oh,
and
that's
like
cool.
they kind of but the opening segment, Stupid Buddy Studios
Oh, that's
does the
cool.
opening segment
That's
for
cool.
that. So like, and I've seen them pop up in other things
Hmm.
too. Like it's not just stop motion.
That's
Like
kind of what they're most
they
well
do
known
have
for.
some, right. They do have some traditional animation, and they do have some other stuff that they do. But yeah, it's a big adventure for them now. But
There you
anyway, so um, but Adult Swim has spawned some other like really amazing shows, and something that's more nowadays is Rick and Morty.
go. Yeah. Like
Like
everybody knows Rick and
Rick and
Morty.
Morty is an Adult Swim original
Hmm.
programming.
Yep.
Like that originated on Adult Swim.
Yep.
Um, they resurrected things like the Family Guy and Futurama.
Right.
They took over Final Space from
Hmm.
TBS. Do you remember that show?
Yep. Yep.
It's animated in the style of Rick and Morty, but it
Yep.
originally aired on TBS, and I believe it was a Conan O'Brien show. I think
I
Conan produced it.
I want to say you're right because that sounds right.
Yeah, let's see. Well, we don't have to wait, but anyway, I'm pretty sure he produced. I'm pretty sure he was a producer on it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But yeah.
so there's that. Do you remember Squidbillies?
Yeah. See, that was a show that like I didn't think I would enjoy as much as I did, but my God, was it it was a good show.
Yes, yes, it was. It was such a stupid show too, but it was
I think that's
so
why I
good.
enjoyed it so much because it was just so dumb.
Right. And then there's also, other shows that they had like Lucy the Daughter of the Devil,
Hmm.
which is a CG animated show, which was hilarious.
See, I don't think I
Uh,
actually watched that one.
that was a good one. The Boondocks.
Okay, so those of you that are familiar with the Boondocks, it was originally a comic,
Yep. Aaron Magruder.
very much about black culture, but I mean told in a funny way.
Hmm.
So I remember I'm in college, and as I said earlier, our friend Kevin was my roommate. We also had another roommate, Malcolm, who when he was going to move in, his parents walked in, and his dad looked like a much bigger Ving Rhames, if you remember who that is. So, like, I'm expecting, this just towering black man son is going to be just as big and is going to be our roommate. And I'm like, wow, okay, two white guys from the middle of corn country. I don't, we're like, oh man, are we going to have any common ground, or is this going to be one of those things of like we just don't talk when we're in the room? So Malcolm walks up, and he's just as tall, quite a bit more thin, had a big afro, and walks up to us and says, "Hi guys, my name's Malcolm, and I'm going to be your roommate," which threw us off. But anyway, getting back to Boondocks, when that show was first getting advertised, Kevin and I are like, hey, that looks like it might be a fun show. So we watched it, and the first time that show came on, they dropped the N word a lot in that show.
Yep.
So we're sitting there watching it. All three of us are like, and we ended up getting along well with Malcolm. I mean, he was just as much of a nerd as Kevin and I were. A great guy. Like I haven't talked to him since college, but he's a really great guy, talented artist. But so we're watching Boondocks, all three of us, and they start dropping the N bomb, and Kevin and I immediately both freeze up and just like don't even move our bodies, we just move our eyes and look over at Malcolm, who's still watching the TV, and he's sitting there with this very stoic look on his face. And then he starts laughing and goes, "The show is pretty funny. I get it. I get it." And we're like, "Okay." So Kevin and I give each other that look of, "Is it okay for us to laugh?" Malcolm's laughing, so we start laughing, and then he kind of looks over and says, "Yeah, this is great. Thank you guys for turning this on." So okay, we're in the clear. We can watch Boondock with our black roommate. Okay, we're good. But no, like Boondock's like it's such a unique show. I mean, it's very much another one of those, maybe not always in tone, but in like animation style, another American anime style kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like their fight scenes were very anime inspired. I mean, just like
well, yeah. I mean,
it
was very like the scenes were very over the top. Like
Yep.
it definitely had some eclectic humor, but it did tackle some pretty serious issues occasionally, and it treated them with real gravitas.
Yeah, I mean, like
but
they
it
covered
also
things like,
layered humor.
yeah, I mean, they really did. I mean, and they covered things like racial inequality, um,
The trial of R. Kelly,
right, the trial of R. Kelly. I mean, they covered like how life for people in an inner city is completely different from life from people out in like the rural areas or suburbs or whatever have you. Um, Appropriation of black culture. I mean, they covered a lot of these things that like in today's day are like hot topic buttons. But this was the better part of it, over a decade ago. Boondocks was talking about this stuff.
Yep.
I mean, it's something that like it in a humorous way put a lot of these things in the forefront of the people that were watching its minds, which I mean, kudos to the show, all of its creators, all of the talent that went into that for talking about this stuff. Because I mean, I don't want us to get political here, but I mean, it's stuff that a lot of people still don't really even acknowledge. These things are things that happen,
Yeah, and there's I think there's been a confirmed rumor that HBO is going to resurrect the show. They're going to bring back Boondocks.
Yes,
and it will be. I believe it will be available on HBO Max.
Good. I will absolutely watch that.
Yeah. I don't know. They obviously can't bring back all of the original cast.
Right.
Like the guy who played Granddad has since passed away, and unfortunately I can't remember his name.
That's a shame.
But the many people don't know this. The person that played the two main boy characters, Huey and Riley, was actually a woman.
Really?
Regina King. Yeah, Regina King,
huh.
who won an Oscar about 3 years ago for a movie performance. So,
really?
Yes, Regina King, the voice actress for these two inner city turned suburb kids. Who are very opinionated and potentially militant.
Right. Oh my God.
Won an Oscar.
That's really cool, actually. Like, okay,
yeah.
Like, who was your favorite character on Boondocks?
I think Riley was the most relatable. Or not Riley, I'm sorry. Huey was the most relatable. Riley was just over the top.
Right. Like, they were opposite ends of that the spectrum of that kind of lifestyle.
Right. Granddad really spent too much of his time trying to be like accepted.
Right. Well, like he it seemed like, especially in his later years, he lived most of his life trying to be a younger man than what he really was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I still can't hear the song Gold Digger by Kanye West without picturing the hooker episode.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah, so like
I'm a cannot named Slickback.
Right. Cat Williams, Cat Williams.
Cat Williams. Oh yeah.
Uncle Ruckus is probably the most fun character.
Yes.
Like just the most over the top. I actually like Tom.
Oh yeah. The relatable everyman.
The relatable everyman, but just gets the shit whooped out of him all the time.
I mean, not only physically, but also like on an emotional, mental, cultural level. He just gets the shit beat out of him all the time.
Yes.
But yeah, Boondocks was a really good show.
Yeah. But I think if I have to go with favorite character, probably gonna be Jin Rummy.
All right, Gin Rummy.
Because it is Samuel Jackson voicing his character from Reservoir or
Yep.
from Pulp Fiction,
Yep.
except he's white.
Yeah. That was-
It is it is literally his character from Pulp Fiction, except he's
He's a
white.
white guy.
So yeah, and it is also voiced by Sam Jackson. So
Yep.
that is just
Who's amazing?
one of the
Who's
more
amazing as well.
yes.
I had almost forgotten about that till you said Gin Rummy. I'm like, oh, Sam Jackson.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, they had a fantastic voice cast though. Like obviously, Cedric Yarbrough was in it. Aaron McGruder, who plays the voice of Tom.
Yep.
The creator plays the voice of Tom. They had Ed Asner as the white businessman that is very much trying to like appropriate
Everything.
the everything. They had several rappers that were on there,
Yep.
like famous rappers that voiced characters on there.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but didn't Eminem do a voice on there? I might be
might
thinking of something
have.
else that he did.
Yeah, maybe something else because
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on that one.
Yeah. I think I am thinking of something else. I just don't know what.
Yeah. Oh, John Witherspoon was the voice of
Oh.
Granddad, who has
Yeah.
since passed away, unfortunately. Anyway, so but Adult Swim's had a ton of original programming. Like
Yeah.
there's other shows that we haven't covered. Do you remember Frisky Dingo?
Yes. Which was kind of a prelude to Archer almost.
Yes, it was from Adam Reed, who is the creator of Archer. He also created that, and he does voices. Adam Reed voices Xander Cruz in Frisky Dingo, and he also voices Ray in Archer. Ray.
Oh yeah. Huh,
Yeah, that's Adam. That's Adam Reed. Yeah. So, and also little known factoid for you: the character of Krieger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, the character of Ray is modeled after the guy who plays the voice of Krieger.
Really?
Yes.
Like physically, or like just
Yes.
the character in general? Okay.
No, physically.
Okay.
Like he's physically modeled after the character, after the guy who plays Krieger.
Huh.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well,
it's either that, or, one.
It's either one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well,
So anyway,
cool.
Yeah, Frisky Dingo was a great show.
Yeah.
Like that one ran a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Like really weird, like fun humor.
Right.
The Drinky Crow show, which basically followed a depressed crow who was trying to commit suicide every episode.
Which I mean, like I don't think anything like that would fly today.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah, I forgot that one. I mean, Adult Swim's had a lot of shows.
No, they really have. Mike Tyson Mysteries.
Which that one's I don't know if they're getting new episodes, but it's still on Adult Swim. Like I will sometimes I'll turn the TV on sometimes and fall asleep because I'm old. But like it never fails that I always wake up when Mike Tyson Mysteries is on. I don't know if it's just that time slot that I just happen to wake up for, but
right. For those of you who don't know, Mike Tyson Mysteries is modeled after the old Scooby-Doo cartoons, like the same animation style and everything, but it actually stars Mike Tyson as the main character. Yeah, he voices the main character.
Yeah,
he's doing the main voice. Right, of him, and then there's his adopted Asian daughter, their gay live-in ghost butler.
Yep.
And then Norm Macdonald as the pigeon, as the talking. He's basically an asshole that got turned into a pigeon that lives with them, and like he's just a drunk and a dick. But it's Norm Macdonald playing this pigeon.
Yep.
And they just call him Pigeon, like even though he has a name. Like it's revealed that he actually has a name, but they just call him Pigeon.
Yep, because he's a pigeon.
So, correct. Yeah. So is that one? Let's see what else was on the list. Mr. Pickles, which is another
weird show. Yes, it is. Like that one's out there.
It's out there, but I also find it entertaining.
Like I that's one that I couldn't get into that much just because it was so bizarre. And I think when it first came on, I watched a couple episodes and just couldn't get into it.
I mean, it's definitely not a show for everybody, but
Or for kids.
um, right, or kids. Well,
Yeah.
pretty much anything on Adult Swim is not for
Exactly.
kids. So as we kind of start to round out, towards the end of the show, there's a couple of things that I did want to also talk about as well.
Yep.
Um, so we talk about Adult Swim saving shows and whatnot.
Yep.
We can't forget probably the greatest in my mind, in my opinion, Samurai Jack.
Yeah, Samurai Jack.
Adult
Man.
Swim brought back Samurai Jack for a final season, which was very adult focused. Like
Yes. Well, because
it was not it was not your granddad's Samurai
well,
Jack.
I
Like
think I
it
think a lot of
was
it they realized that the people that watched that show when it was new are our age now, so they could
right,
get away with doing that without losing their target audience because we are their target audience. We were the ones that grew
right,
up watching that show.
right. And Samurai Jack is an amazing show. Gendy
Yes. Oh,
Tartakovsky,
yes.
creator of Dexter's Lab. He's the director for all of the Hotel Transylvania films.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
forgot he directed those. My kids were actually watching that yesterday.
Yeah. But did Samurai Jack, probably one of the great, also Primal. If you've not seen Gendy
Mm,
Tartakovsky's Primal,
watch it.
check it out. It is
Yes.
amazing,
Hmm.
amazing show. Um, but brought back Samurai Jack to give us a final season, like give us that closure because it was canceled before we ever got a conclusion to the series.
Yep.
So this gives us a conclusion. And there's actually a video game that Adult Swim Games produced that kind of follows Jack through the last season and actually gives an extra ending to
Really?
the show. Like, and Gendy Tartakovsky has said that this is canon. Like
Ooh.
the ending is canon because anyway, go play it, go check it out. But yeah, Samurai Jack, great show. Phil Lamar's Samurai Jack. I saw an interview with him. I actually think I might have saw it live because he was at PopCon a few years ago.
You
And
may
they,
you may have actually.
but they asked him like all-time favorite character. Jack, Samurai Jack,
Real.
is his all-time
That's
favorite character to
awesome.
play. And then they talked about the revival series, and he had already recorded for the
Mm.
revival,
Yep.
and he was just like, I was so happy when they brought that back. Like I would
Oh.
have done it for free, but they had already offered me a paycheck, so I went ahead and took it. But he's like, yeah, they could have just like asked me, and I would have said done. Like no,
That's awesome.
absolutely. Like Jack is his all-time favorite
That's
character.
awesome.
Um, so there's that, and then they've also now added Toonami to Adult Swim, which
Right.
I believe is only Saturday nights.
Right.
I believe Friday or Saturday nights. Maybe it's both. I can't quite remember.
One of them.
Right, but Toonami's back, airing more adult anime.
Right.
Fooly Cooly, which you enjoyed. I
See, okay.
hate.
I love the original Fooly Cooly when they brought out the new like spin-off continuation seasons. There was something that was missing. That magic that made me love the original series
Weed.
just wasn't there. No, no. But there's just something that was missing. And like if you ask me, well, what was missing? Not a clue, but like it wasn't the same to me.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, the Adult Swim's there now, so they're airing anime, and they got a really good lineup. Like they play a lot of the really good, like more current shows. Like they aired Bleach for years, Akame ga Kill, Assassination Classroom, Bebop, obviously.
right. Can't
Um,
go without Bebop.
Right, Demon Slayer, Doctor Stone, Dragon Ball, like all the Full Metal Alchemist. Like that
Yeah,
was where I first watched Full Metal Alchemist was
which is an
on
amazing series.
Right. Also, Brotherhood is better in
Brotherhood
my
is
opinion.
better. Brotherhood is better.
Brotherhood is better.
Fight
Fight
me.
me. They even aired Helsing Ultimate for a period of
Did
time.
they?
Yeah, they did. According to this, anyway. They aired Helsing Ultimate for a bit. One Punch Man, Outlaw Star, uh, Samurai 7, Samurai Champloo.
Shampoo was really
Um,
good.
Champloo was really good. It was by the creator of Bebop.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's one
by
of
the
the
creator of
series
Bebop.
that like I know we're kind of diverging here a little bit, but Samurai Champloo was I think one of those that was an underappreciated series. But
Hmm.
I
No,
thought it was fantastic.
I would agree. Um, Not many people know this, but Adult Swim also aired Star Wars: The Clone Wars for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, they did, didn't they?
Uh-huh. And people also don't know this, but the original Clone Wars was actually sorry, there was a bug flying around and I just managed to smash him.
I just see you randomly clap on screen. I'm like, what the hell's he doing? He's clapping them cheeks.
But yeah, right. Uh, sorry, folks, for you not watching the YouTube channel. There was a gnat that's been flying around this entire recording session, and I just managed to finally get him. Um, but the original Star Wars: The Clone Wars
The animated one,
was
not the CG
the
one, right?
animated
Okay.
one. The animated one, not the CG one, was actually Gendy Tartakovsky again.
Yep.
And they were like 5-minute vignettes, and they were, I think, maybe 13 episodes or something like that,
Right.
like 13 5-minute episodes. But it's also considered one of the greatest renditions of Star Wars that has ever existed. Like, it was just amazing.
Right. It was really
You know,
good.
it was really good, and it actually explained why Grievous has his raspy cough, because in the very last episode, as Grievous is trying to escape, Mace Windu force crushes his
Yep.
lungs,
But that's
and
no
that's why
longer
he has the
canon.
rasp. They're still waffling about that though. Like
Are they
I've
going back
heard,
and forth on it again? Because last I heard,
yeah,
they
because
said no.
they are, but Dave Filoni himself is apparently fighting to to get Disney to acknowledge that it's canon.
Well, they should, because, like, to my knowledge, at least what I remember of it, there's nothing in it that contradicts any other established Clone Wars canon, other than the fact that you didn't actually see any of that stuff in the movies or the CG Clone Wars. But there's nothing in it that I remember that would contradict either of those two.
Correct. The only thing that you could potentially argue is that Dirge does not make an appearance again after that show. Dirge was a bounty hunter in that show. He looked like
Right.
a big beefy robot with a lance.
Right.
Um, but that's really it. Like
I mean,
everything else
you
was
could
there.
easily explain that off of, well, somebody paid him, there was a higher bounty that he took for something elsewhere. He's a bounty
Or
hunter.
he could have been killed in between,
Right.
because it's not like the Clone Wars CG show picked up right where, it wasn't like it was the day after or anything
Right.
like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so yeah, the last thing then is we kind of hinted at it
Yep.
earlier, but we want
Is
to.
this the whole reason that we did an Adult Swim special?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Adult Swim is finally giving us an end cap or a continuation or a closure on several of our absolute all-time favorite shows.
Yep.
And what we are talking about is Aqua Teen Hunger Force,
Yep.
Metalocalypse,
Mm-hmm.
and the Venture Brothers are all getting feature animated movies.
Yep. Which for Aqua Teen, this is technically their second, because
Their second movie.
Yep.
Yep. They did have a theatrically released movie.
Which
It
I
did come
actually,
out in theaters.
Kevin and I actually went and saw that in theaters.
Right.
And it was. I don't want to say I was underwhelmed, because I got exactly what I was looking for out of it, which was a movie length Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie.
Yep.
But I wasn't blown away by it. But I got what I wanted out of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
they brought back Dr. Weird.
Right. We talked about this earlier as well, though. Like Venture Brothers is ending.
Yep.
But they're at least giving them a movie as a
Mhm.
send off.
Yep.
Ending. As opposed to some other shows would just get the axe and then
Yeah.
they're done.
Yep.
Like you never get a closure. But then so Venture Brothers is getting one. But then what really is the most exciting of the three to me is Metalocalypse, because
Yes. Because that
the
means a new
fourth season.
album.
It does mean a new album, but the fourth season of Metalocalypse doesn't give you any closure.
Yeah.
Like it just ends.
Yeah.
Like there is a whole huge subplot to that show, or subplot, a sub-story arch to that show that you never get any closure
Yeah.
on, and you're like, which is, I'm hoping that they're able to actually like finalize and finish that show.
That'd be nice if the movie does that, for sure.
Yeah, because that show is amazing, and it also has Mark Hamill in it as well. So
who did he?
awkward silence. Awkward silence because Tim is not sure, trying to remember who Mark Hamill plays. Mark
Yeah.
Hamill plays the voice of the the head of the Illuminati, like the dude with the long hair.
Oh,
He does him.
yeah.
He does him, and he does the dude that is always like standing at the vid screen at the beginning of like their meetings. Like, it like
Oh God,
provides like the
yeah.
yeah, he does both of those voices.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Man, that'd be really cool if they managed to get him back for that. Because I mean, that's a pretty big name.
I think he would do it. Like,
You
I
think?
feel like Mark Hamill is, if nothing else, he is a huge supporter of his fans.
Right.
And I think that he would reprise those roles on that show for the movie.
Right.
Um just because like he just enjoys doing this stuff
Right.
for his
He
fans.
really does love his work.
Like how many times has he reprised the Joker?
The answer
Like,
is yes.
yes. Like and he claims like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and retire that character, and then like 2 years later he comes out at like
Yeah.
another, the Joker's in something else, and it's Mark Hamill.
Like how many times?
And
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly. He's retired from being Joker more times than Michael Jordan retired from basketball. For those of you old enough to remember that.
right.
But he still keeps coming back. He still keeps, and you know what? We love him for it.
Yeah, and the Joker's had many voice actors over the years, and Mark probably holds a special place in our hearts because we grew up with him
Right.
as the Joker.
Yep.
If you're also like me, like you didn't realize he was the Joker until like many years later, and you're like, oh
That's
shit,
Luke Skywalker.
right? Exactly. That's Luke Skywalker. Oh my god. Anyway,
Ermagerd.
exactly. So, yeah, Adult Swim's giving us some closure on these movies. With these movies,
Right.
it's I'm really looking forward to them. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that HBO picks up Boondocks and brings them
That
back
would be
again.
really cool if they did.
Um,
Now,
yeah,
do you think that one
and
would be a continuation or would it be an entire like reboot?
I don't know. I think I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Think I've heard that it's going to be a
Oh,
continuation,
that'd be
but I
cool.
think they're still in planning. Like they're in
Gotcha.
pre-production discussions at this
Gotcha.
point. So, yeah, I'm just not 100% sure there. So, but I think we're probably right around at time, if not over our usually allotted hour
Yeah,
and a half.
they're actually short.
Oh, really?
So hey, you know what, you folk, our gift to you folks today is you get to have some free time before you inevitably listen to our next episode.
Exactly.
Please listen to our next episode, folks. And it's like going off of that, like what we do, like Ian and I have been looking over the analytics a lot lately, and we genuinely thank you to anyone that's taken the time to listen to us. We don't do this for money. We don't do this for any kind of fame or notoriety. This, like Ian and I, for those of you that are longtime listeners, know that. Thank you for the beautiful birds there, Ian. It's very cinematic. Thank you.
Awkward sea turtle.
See, I was gonna say one of those weird jellyfish, but anyway, no. We've known each other forever. We're two friends. You know, we do this. One, it gives us an excuse to talk every week. I mean, we text each other pretty much every day, but it gives us an
Right.
excuse to get on camera, talk, see each other face to face. I mean, we live several hours apart now. This is something that we've done just for fun. Just we didn't expect
And I
anything.
don't see that changing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to be doing this for a while. Um, but I mean, we didn't expect to have like so many people actually listening to our episodes. So I mean, genuinely, like, thank you to even if you've only listened to one episode, even if this is the only episode you ever listened to, thank you. I mean, seriously, for tuning in, listening to two middle-aged dads talk about stuff that you might be too old to even know about,
Or too young.
or too old to remember, or too young to know about. Or maybe you're like us. Maybe you're middle-aged nerd. You just want to share some thoughts and listen. We genuinely appreciate it, and we hope that you keep tuning into us for sure.
Yes, and to echo Tim, I won't belabor the point, but a heartfelt thank you from both of us. Our our animators, our producers, our sound editors, all of the people that don't exist.
That's me.
It's us.
It's I was gonna say.
It's us.
So
yeah,
you're looking at the entire crew right here.
Right, we're shaking hands with each other.
There we go. Well,
Um, So yeah, a heartfelt thank you from us. But I think on that we'll go ahead and end for the night.
Yep.
Again, a big thank you. Um, catch us on our normal channels: Anchor.fm, our hosting platform; Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Your favorite podcasting platforms. You can check us out at Twitter at non sequitur nerd. Check us out on Twitch. We do occasionally stream.
Occasionally.
Occasionally, you check us out on Facebook. We have a Facebook page.
Yep.
And our website, www.nonsequiturnerd. We probably not sequitur nerd. Sorry,
That's
we
nerds.
probably need to update that. And YouTube,
Yep.
where you can watch the live video of us talking and being awkward.
Yep.
So if listening to our voices doesn't destroy you enough, then you can go and see our
Check out
faces
these
and just
beautiful faces.
right. You kind of wind up looking like the German at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I mean, especially when it's hot, especially when it's too hot out, or if somebody opens my curtains and I see sunlight.
Right, exactly. So yeah, check us out on those different platforms. We appreciate the listens, the likes, the contributions. We don't get paid for this. We just do it for fun.
Yep.
So on that terrible disappointment, I think we're gonna go ahead and call it for the night. Yeah. So we'll see you later, guys.
Yep. We'll catch you soon. Good night, everybody. Hey, Ian.
Bye.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
I think we messed up that joke. Bye.
Bye.